We got a couple of segments to talk about this, and Wes, this is glad to have you on for this one. This is the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I'm actually really glad to have you on as well because I hate these Pro-Ams, and I certainly hate these.
So do apparently the PGA Tour players, because only 6 of the top 40 are going to be here.
Yeah, and I certainly hate these multi-course tournaments as well because it's very tough for me. I'm a super data-driven guy, and certainly like to try to get in tournament on data. And of course, if they're switching courses, then it doesn't really matter whenever we're trying to figure out, okay, is there anything they can correct the next day, or is there anything that someone did exceptionally well to fade them, whatever it might be.
Right.
So it doesn't really play to my skill set here in all this, but why don't you let everybody know here what we are working with here. It's going to be Pebble Beach, Spyglass, and Monterey, and Pebble Beach twice.
Yeah, and I mentioned a downfield, I think for a variety of reasons. You talk about hating these Pro-Ams, and a lot of players I don't think like this. That's why I didn't want to say that Will Zalatoris didn't get COVID-19. He probably does have it, but he did withdraw. He was one of the shorter priced guys, but I also thought maybe, don't want to do a 6-hour round necessarily. I had kind of a rough weekend where I should have had my first PGA Tour win, got beat in the playoff by an incredible shot by Luke List, by the way, which I don't think made you all that displeased.
I had, hey man, I had both. It was the best playoff in the history of the world for me. I had both. So
Wes, he had 4 outrights. He had
all the squares covered, man.
He had Zalatoris, Luke List, and John Rahm. He was looking good either way.
I was dead to Justin Rose, and then he hit a ball in the water on 18. That sunk his chances. I had 2 water balls. Rory McIlroy as well over there in the Dubai Desert Classic. I rarely take the favorite in a tournament like that, and he had it won basically and then just kind of gave it away. Victor Hovland, of course, benefited. You mentioned it, Matt. 3 different courses here. Pebble Beach will have one of the first 3 rounds, and then everybody will gather there on Sunday because they do a 54-hole cut here. Low 60 pros, low 25 Pro-Am teams here. All of these courses basically right around 7,000 yards. Pebble Beach can play the toughest because it has the smallest greens on tour of an annual tour event. 3,500 square feet. They're pure POA greens. And then you go to Spyglass Hill. That's a little bit more protected by trees. It's more of a tree-lined link style track, whereas Monterey Peninsula and Pebble Beach, both off the coast. Monterey Peninsula, by the way, back in the rotation. They only played the 2 courses last year, so we are going to you got to play all 3 courses, and then, of course, Sunday, they come to Pebble Beach. Saturday is where a lot of and look at the Pro-Am pairings, that's where a lot of the professionals and the celebrities, most of them are on Pebble Beach on Saturday afternoon, obviously, for CBS coverage, and they want to do that. So it was tough for me to find comparable courses here. I compared obviously the ones in the rotation. I looked a little bit at Wailea in the Sony Open, a little bit at Sea Island, which hosts the RSM Classic, El Camaleon, which does the Mayakoba. So I was basically looking at coastal courses, and because these are such short courses, you really length doesn't really matter on these courses. It's just hitting fairways, greens and regulation, good drives gain, strokes gain approach. You can pretty much put that in your model every week. And then POA putting is what I used.
Kelley, what did you go with this week in yours?
Yeah, a lot of what Wes said. I mean, I think, when we start looking at this, where they're going to play, you're talking when they get to the Pebble Beach course, you're talking about the shortest course they're going to play all year, and you're talking about the smallest greens, and you're talking about the only course where you really have good shot link info from of the 3 of these. So you're trying to really handicap that course, and then also keep in mind what you think they're going to be able to do on some of these others. But I think important to point out, that's the shortest course on the tour, smallest greens, and then this is the first tournament we're seeing with all POA greens, right? So I think that's something where you got to factor into your modeling as well. Like Wes said, it was very much, this is as high as I'll go on approach percentage for my model all year. With the smaller greens and as small of a course it is, I didn't really do anything off the tee statistic-wise, just not really important enough. Because of the first couple days where you're going to be playing all 3 courses, strokes gained par 5 was important to me. Any of these par 5s that you can get some scoring on was big. And then proximity, 125
I used that as
yards.
well, Kelley.
Yeah, 22% of approach shots last year came from that range on Pebble Beach course. So used that pretty heavily. Par fours, 350 to 400 yards. And then looked at a lot of greens and regulations around the greens, sand saves, factored that all in. And then a lot of putting statistics, really strokes gained putting on POA, opportunities gained, birdie or better on some of these, on some of these other courses, and 3-putt avoidance as well. You don't want to get on a small green and then have someone 3-putt. So that's a lot of what I factored in there. And that
you did a lot more than I did. Yeah. Mine was the keep it simple, stupid. I have approach, good drives around the green, proximity 100 to 125, and opportunities gained, and that's it. That's the only thing I put in this week, and then I just filtered it down to the short courses, under 7,200 yards.
And by the way, what you mentioned, Matt, we don't get that data from Spyglass Hill and Monterey Peninsula, so you're pretty much getting Pebble Beach. It's kind of like last week at the Farmers. You didn't get North Course data, which obviously plays much easier than the South Course, so you were basically dead to South Course data depending on the draw. I got on the run in the draw last week because I played all North Course days day one. That did not work out very well for me.
Yeah, so I kept it super simple this week, and listen, I think that the names that I came up with, and we'll hold off on what bets we have in our accounts until next segment here to kind of go through things. But I mean, what it basically did with all of that, and like I said, I filtered it down to the short courses under 7,200 yards, and I think with something like this, I mean, last week it paid off for me to kind of ignore putting statistics and just really focus on guys that I thought fit the course pretty well and hope that the flat stick got hot. And, that's what happened. Luke List, one of the absolute worst putters on tour, and was able to figure out how to putt for 4 days, right? And so I think that's, when we talk about my card here, I mean, I have several guys here that, most likely in any other sort of model that factored in any sort of putting would instantly be disqualified, but I'm actually not worried about it so much this week.
Right, exactly. And Luke List, I guess when you're not a very good putter, what do? You hit it stiff out of the bunker to like 3 feet and go ahead and win the thing. So Luke List finally gets his first PGA Tour win. I believe he went 206 starts.
We will look at my card. We'll look at Kelley's card and what Wes has in the accounts here for this Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Not a big one for me. Kelley's back there too busy talking about how excited he is for his bets on this tournament. He's leaving us tomorrow. He's going to have fun for the rest of the week on the beach. He's checked out for these last 45 minutes.
I told you about it twice during that break, but yeah, I mean a little bit. Bachelor party weekend, baby. Let's go.
All right, so let's start with your card because we have a nice little graphic made for you and what bets are in your account. As we sit right now, again, there are, listen, if we look at this, as Wes mentioned, it's not a very deep card here. It is not a big name heavy card. So if you're going to be looking to bet this, you're not going to be finding a lot of the names that maybe you would be typically looking for. I mean, Patrick Cantlay is your favorite at 6.5 to 1, Berger at 9 to 1, according to DraftKings, Spieth at 16 to 1. And then outside of that, I mean, as far as the names that the super, super casual fan knows, I mean, maybe, Jason Day is there at 18 to 1, Justin Rose 18 to 1, but then you're getting into a whole bunch of different names here that I don't think a lot of people are going to be very familiar with. So it is, I bet the casual bettor doesn't really get outside of those top few names at the top here, Kelley. So maybe that'll present some value a little further down the card.
Yeah, this is, I was looking at these odds just overall last night and then today. I mean, listen, on my models, I don't know where you guys came out. I mean, Cantlay was 1 or 2 in every round that I ran. So I mean, am I betting him at plus 650? No, I'm staying away from him this tournament. I was looking further down the board, but I'm just going to say, as far as what's happened in golf the past year or so, right? You can at least make an argument for Cantlay, Berger, Spieth's numbers to be pretty dang short. I mean, Rose, I was able to get at 29 to 1 at some place here in town.
With you. So.
Yeah, I mean, me and Wes, we're gushing over Justin Rose the past 2 weeks over text message. His approach game has been fantastic the past couple weeks. So I kind of had a feeling we'd both end up on him. But I mean, 18 to 1 on Justin Rose, 18 to 1 on Jason Day.
That's ridiculous.
He's an incredible golfer, but what has he shown you consistency wise? Seamus Power. Matt, we were betting Seamus Power at 100 to 1 6 months ago. So I think there's some of these guys really, I mean, Mito Pereira 40-1. Sure, I might be able to get there on a weaker field. We've played numbers like that, but some of these numbers, Cameron Tringale 25-1 for an outright ticket. The guy hasn't won on tour yet. I don't know how you can bet that.
And let me go back to Jason Day, because the reason why I think he's that short, obviously he showed life last week at Torrey Pines at T3, was in the final group. The form, I think everybody's going on the course for him here. 7th last year, then 4th, 2nd, 5th, 11th, 4th, miscut 6th. So obviously he has been in the mix here and likes this course. But the fact, what did he close last week? Like 100-1 at Torrey Pines? And now you're betting the number 83 ranked player in the world in the official world golf rankings at 18-1.
I can't.
You know what? If he beats me, I'll live with it.
That's what it is, Wes. If those kind of guys beat you with those numbers, you got to be able to live with it, because I don't really know how they're bettable. So I did. Justin Rose is a guy I was looking at, kind of had an idea I was going to be betting him this week. Able to grab him at 29-1.
I had the same,
And this is important to say. I did bet this last night. This is before Will Zalatoris pulled out of the tournament, so outright numbers are going to be adjusted for that. I adjust Justin Rose, and he popped in the model, and kind of even if he didn't, I had a feeling I was going to be betting him anyways. But he was top 5 in the last 12, last 24, last 36 model I ran. Wes, I believe I heard another guy we're sharing is Matt Kuchar.
We're sharing all of your outrights.
Oh,
actually.
Really? I was shocked to see Matt Kuchar was top 5 in every model I ran as well. Did not think I would be on the Cooch coming into this tournament, but I am. I got him at 85-1. So a couple bombs in this tournament. Like you said before, Wes, what is it, 6 of the top 40 players playing in this? I think you got to look further down the board. It's another multi-course tournament. Makes it a little wonky. Wasn't going to go crazy on the card, but those are three guys that I liked. I did like Cameron Tringale, did like Kevin Streelman. You look at course history here with Streelman. You look at what Tringale's been doing recently. Wasn't going to go fire outrights on them, though, so took a top 20 bet. And then Justin Rose, top English player, found that at a good price here in town. Wanted to hop on that at plus 160.
No, I'm with you on all those. And Kuchar, by the way, that 85-1, I think you must have got that at Circa. And that's a great number, by the way. And Kuch, if you really look at it, these are the type of courses probably now in his career that he's going to win on. Shorter, coastal type courses. He's won at Waialae before. He's won, I believe the RSM Classic before, because he's down there from Sea Island, Georgia. So this is a guy that's won at Mayakoba in Mexico. I thought that those courses had some kind of correlation to Pebble Beach this week. So I thought Matt Kuchar made sense. And over the last 24 rounds, I don't know if you guys do like 24 rounds or 36 rounds or a mix of both. Tops in this field in POA putting, strokes gained over the last 24 rounds is one Matt Kuchar.
Yeah, Wes, who's on your card?
Yeah, I have Justin Rose as well at 29-1. Look, I like how he's playing, and the fact that Jason Day was shorter odds when you got a Rose here who has 3 top 12 finishes in the last 4 events and was T6 and had a little bit of an outside shot to win, but hit a ball in the water, sunk his chances. He was kind of tinkering, messing around with his equipment over the last couple years. I think he's starting to kind of find something, and he has a good record here, at least a solid record in limited appearances. Remember, he was T3 at the U.S. Open back in 2019, that U.S. Open where Gary Woodland outlasted Brooks Koepka at the end. So Rose 29-1, Kevin Kisner 50-1. I always like Kevin Kisner. It's not a par 70, but I always like him on these short courses, albeit he's better putting on Bermuda than he is on POA. But he just fits the profile here. I think if you look at like good drives gained, approach, and that type of stuff, Kevin Kisner 50-1.
He was a guy that I thought had a good number on him, and the guy that could fit this type of course. I was just surprised he didn't really show up in my model at all. I stayed away from him.
Yeah, he did not, and I kind of went on a little bit of a hunch there. Tom Hoagie, I'm going back a little bit of scar tissue for Kelley Bydlon and I, because we were on Tom Hoagie at the American Express, 125+1, and he ends up finishing second. Hudson Swafford makes that eagle at 16, and it was like, we thought we had a chance. We're like, okay, we're going to get there. Hudson Swafford put it to bed. By the way, Hoagie here, last year was tied for second after 54 holes before he kind of leaked oil at the end, the final few holes. And this is a guy really good on these short coastal tracks, 3rd and 12th over the years at the Sony, 3rd at the Mayakoba, was 4th last November at the RSM Classic. So I thought Hoagie 60-1 was fair.
Let's hope that you're right about that, because also one of my bets as well. I only played 5 outrights, and I didn't play anybody really all that short. I mean, it was one of those things for me. I went in, like I said, I plugged in the numbers. I kept it super simple, and I'm just trusting the model this week. I know where my strengths lie kind of in golf betting, and these type of tournaments are just not it for me. So I plugged in, I looked at the model, whatever seemed of value to me, those are going to get my bets this week, and that's kind of how it's going to go. So the shortest for me this week, Lanto Griffin actually showing up pretty high in my model on several for him. 40-1 is the shortest odd guy on the card for me this week. I did play Streelman at 55-1. He was in the top 3 in all 3 of the versions of the model that I ran, so just too much for me to ignore on him. I did play Hoagie at 6-1, another guy that was in the top 10 in all 3 of the versions, again, the 50, the 36, and the 24 round that I ran. So I do have him at 60-1. Russell Knox at 80-1.
He's on my card as well.
80-1 for me on Russell Knox. Going back to the, hey, if Luke List can do it, maybe Russell Knox can do it. Another guy that can't putt for anything in this world.
But he's a greens and regulation and approach machine.
But just nails every one of the other categories that I love this week. And so if he can just get hot with a putter, I mean, we're talking about, if you look over the last 50 rounds, in this tournament, he is number 2 in the field in approach, number 3 in the field in good drives, number 2 in the field in proximity, 100 to 125 yards, and number 10 in the field in opportunities gained. I mean, this guy is in the top 10 in all these categories that I care about this week. At 80-1, again, he's going to have to find some luck with the putter. He can't putt at all, but hey, Luke List did it last week.
Right.
Why can't it happen again this week? And then the big bomb for me this week, and that's absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he's a prior winner here, and everything to do with the fact that he showed up in the top 10 in every single version of the model I ran, is Vaughn Taylor. Vaughn Taylor at 150-1 in this one. I'm telling you guys right now, Vaughn Taylor in the 50-round model for me, coming out number 9 in the 36 round, coming out number 8, and in the 24 round, Vaughn Taylor is 5th in my model, inside the top 9 every single time, and I'm getting him at 150-1.
He was up there on approach for my 24 round deal. I think he was 8th. And my bomb that was in the approach was Ches Reavy at 100-1, who was 6th there. He has a decent record here at Pebble Beach, part of that tied for 3rd against where Gary Woodland won that U.S. Open here in 2019.
A few guys that I didn't make bets on that I'll probably end up regretting that would finish. Michael Thompson was up there. Joel Damon was up there. And then Matthew Neesmith was up there as well in mine. Don't have bets
is
on,
like the strokes gained approach god. But and then you always bet him at these big prices, and he doesn't find a way to.
Right up there for me. Don't have bets in on him now. I'll probably end up regretting that I didn't do that.